Hello, hello, hello. Good morning. Good morning. No heads up on Twitter this morning because I have got a late start. So this is, I always say every morning I'm going to make these quick, and this one has I have no choice, but it has to be quick. Let's see if anybody comes in. Let me send a note out on Twitter. Hello, who's here? Let me say hi. Who's here? Lober, how you doing? Good morning. Animan, good to see you. How's it going, Ober? Ober, which part of the country are you in? Padillac, good morning. Good morning. Great Atlanta, my man. So, yeah, I'm just still getting a late start here today. I usually am up earlier, but I was up late yesterday working on campaign-related stuff, writing and that sort of thing. Hey, Biggie. And I'm just getting things together here, putting out one more tweet. The main thing I want to cover this morning, I started talking about it yesterday, but didn't get into it. I did put a tweet out about it yesterday. Is the fires? You know, I mean, today it's okay, but this is the weirdest thing. Hey, Liz, how are you? Good to see you. You know, I don't know if anybody lives in California. If you live in California, shoot me a message here. Let me know. But it's the weirdest thing. The last 3 years we've had these fires, and it's becoming like this seasonally expected thing. I first moved to California the very first year that I was here. That September, we had a huge fire up in the Berkeley Hills. It was terrible, and you could smell the smoke. I hadn't really smelled that till about 3 years ago when we had the fire up in Santa Rosa last year. It was so bad we had to all wear masks. I used to poo-poo the masks, but then we had no choice. Happy Halloween. Hey, well, thanks. Good reminder. Thank you. Happy Halloween. Let's have fun today. All this politics stuff is make you mental. Oh, look at this. Here's another sad story, Liz. Moved out after 5 generations living in CA. I was just about to talk about the Central Valley, Liz. I was out there. I mean, I'm out there quite a bit. I do some business out there on some property in the Central Valley. And last year when I was out there, the whole valley was filled with smoke for like months. It seemed like a long time. It was like this fog that you would say it looked like fog, but it was just really smoke. And Central Valley doesn't have very good air to begin with because it's trapped in a valley and not a lot of air is flowing through, as opposed to us, we who live near the coast, we enjoy more air. Yeah. Were you out in the Central Valley, Liz? Is that where your farm was? Well, I just don't think let me just get to my point while I'm waiting. Hey, Chrissy, thanks for joining. I just don't think it was that it's a coincidence. Yolo County. No. Hey, Cheryl. Thanks, Liz. So I don't think it's a coincidence that as Democrat, let me take a step back for a second. So I am, philosophically a small L libertarian. That's where I live. I mean, I think people should be able to do what they want as long as they're not hurting anybody else. And as it turns out, that leads to kind of a free market, free enterprise, free market capitalism that creates more wealth for more people than any other system that mankind has ever known. There's so many examples of that. Look at what happened when we had kind of a freer market, from say post-Civil War to the early 20th century. I mean, the amount of wealth that was created during that time when there was no central bank, there was no, very little regulation, there was not a lot of taxes, and of course there was a lot of pollution going on and that sort of thing, and we needed a correction in that regard. But the amount of wealth, that time period established the United States as the preeminent world power. Everyone used to look to England and France and those places as being the world powers, and it was clear during that time that we just blew them all away. And if you look fast forward to China in the 20th century, after they opened up their markets beginning in the 70s, from that time till this time, there's been more wealth created than any time with any one people in human history, because they've liberalized their markets, they've moved towards freedom, and it's worked out. It's a shame, by the way, that China's trying to flip Hong Kong into what they have. Hong Kong was the freest place on earth for the entire time that it was a British protectorate, and it was also the most amazingly successful, wealthiest place practically on earth. It was a really special time when before it was handed back to China. 1999, I think that was. So in any event, that's where I stand. I'm in that part of the world, and so for me to be so partisan is really not kind of my natural state, because I'm used to being critical of the Republicans. Let me give you an example. One of the reasons why I got active in politics was because I was so disgusted and disappointed when Republicans under Bush controlled the House, the Senate, and of course the presidency, and they grew government faster than any administration since LBJ's Great Society. I mean, it was such an enormous disappointment, because if you heard George Bush when he was running in 2000, he sounded like a libertarian. He sounded like Ron Paul practically. And I was like, wow, this is an exciting opportunity. We're going to get government under control and really unleash the great American energy onto the world. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. What we got was things like Medicare D and a whole bunch of other growth. Medicare D is particularly annoying because it was it was buying off the senior vote in Florida to make sure that there was no repeat of what happened in 2000. So George Bush was basically bribing seniors in order to make sure that he won Florida in 2004. In any event. So as I said, it's not my natural position. I'm perfectly comfortable criticizing people. I'm perfectly comfortable criticizing in the polite way, criticizing, but certainly criticizing, but also being, as an act of guidance. For example, this president. I love his instincts. I think he's got the best instincts on so many things. I think he's a little off in terms of what I would care to see him do on certain things, but I think he's someone you can talk to and have a good conversation with, as evidenced by my discussions with people, with Rand Paul, who tells me, he works with and talks with them all the time. So in any event, I'm not that comfortable. It's a long way of saying I'm not that comfortable, being so partisan. But the Democrats have just become utterly and completely useless. If you get somebody like me to constantly go after the Dems in this kind of way, to criticize them, something's really wrong. There's something wrong with them. They have sort of bare their souls to the public of what it is that they're really all about. It's not just what I see. It's not just in Washington. It's here in San Francisco. I ran for supervisor last year. I know the woman who won the race. I thought, she's kind of one of them, but she also was kind of like a moderating effect in one of them. But then she becomes a supervisor, and one of her first achievements is a resolution. By the way, these resolutions that the Board of Supervisors people publish are completely ridiculous. Her resolution is, get this, to declare the NRA a domestic terrorist organization. So it's the Democratic machine on the local level, it's the Democratic machine on the national level, and of course it's the Democrat machine which now controls and has had effective control for some time over Sacramento. I mean, Republicans have broken up the supermajority periodically, but they really have, the Democrats have run Sacramento without restraint since Arnold Schwarzenegger was the governor. In fact, actually, in all honesty, when Jerry Brown was in, he was probably, I miss Jerry Brown. I mean, he had at least gave lip service to fiscal responsibility. But so they run the show. In my life, I got Democrats running the city, I got Democrats running the state, and then I've got Democrats in charge of the House with my neighbor up the street here, Nancy Pelosi, leading that crew. So when you see that, from Schwarzenegger to now, you've had just complete Democrat control over Sacramento, And then since that time, in the last 3 years, we've had these uncontainable, uncontrollable fires going throughout the state. Well, who's responsible for that? Who has to take responsibility for that? And in some respect, you think, oh, well, it's not really, they say, Nancy Pelosi's problem. But it is her problem because, first of all, she has outsized influence on what happens in California. Boy, California Republicans toe the line when it comes, California Democrats toe the line when it comes to Nancy Pelosi. But some of you may not know that Gavin Newsom is Nancy Pelosi's nephew. Anybody, make a note if somebody did. Anybody know that? Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, is Nancy Pelosi's nephew. Not a nephew through marriage, but she's known him since he was a kid. And he is definitely part of the Pelosi machine. There you go. Thanks, Amy. She is, and so she's been noticeably, if not deafeningly, quiet about what's going on in California. Other than to say recently, her thoughts were with, that's not okay. It's not okay that they're connected, because all they care about is power. They don't really care about doing things effectively. The only thing they want to be effective at is gaining power. And then once they get it, of course, they don't know what to do with it. They just want to sit on top of the throne and get the adulation and get more power. And it doesn't do anything for people who live in their states or in their congressional districts or anywhere in the country for that matter. Everything Gavin Newsom does has nothing to do right now with what's good for California. It is everything to do with setting him up to be in the right position to run for president in 2024. So, this is complete ineptitude. They could clear this brush. They could find the hot spots. They could manage this. They've had years. They know what's happening. They know we've had Santa Ana winds in California since forever. We get them all the time. They come in every year, and we know this time of year that the rainy season is just about to start, and that this is the driest part of the year, and we run into these fires, and yet complete ineptitude is the reason, because the Democrats are inept because all they're focused on is power. It is the most. As a guy, I don't want to control your lives. I don't want to tell you what to do. I wouldn't know how to live your life. I want to free you up so that nobody tells you what to do. So in any event, all of these fires can be laid at the feet of the Democrats. They are certainly the responsibility of Gavin Newsom. Yep, I saw that video too, Amy. If you have that link to that video, put it up here before we close up. I got to close up shop early today, but these fires are the result of Democrat ineptitude. We have got to get them out of office. We've got to get Gavin Newsom out of office. There is a recall Gavin Newsom petition starting. It may actually catch some steam now because of these fires. It was sort of lingering out there, and the Republican Party hasn't gotten behind it. We've all sort of signed it, but not pushed it. But we may see a push for it now because he's clearly inept. Hey, Sherry, and again, Nancy Pelosi. Notice she's been really quiet about these fires. Marin County. This is crazy. Marin County had no electricity. It's such a wealthy county. All my friends are coming into the city so they can take showers and charge their phones and stay here. It's crazy what's happening. And, there's just no acceptance, no responsibility. Thanks, Amy. And everybody catch that link and look at that video and you see what California is like, So, Uncle Dredd, I'll take your question here. What am I doing to remove Nancy from office? Well, I'm running. I'm running against Nancy. I'm Nancy Pelosi. I'm John Dennis. I'm running against Nancy Pelosi. I live here in the district. I live half a mile, 3/4 of a mile from her, and I'm running for Congress here in San Francisco. And I'm not. I'm the chairman of the local Republican Party, the San Francisco Republican Party. I run for office before, and I am taking the charge to. I've raised some money. I've raised a lot of money in the past running for office, and I'm taking the fight to her. That's what I'm doing. That's what I can do. Yeah, she's talking about the video. Try Brave browser to review that. YouTube took that video down. Give you an idea of what's going on in California and who runs it and who's getting rich off of government here. So anyway, that's what I'm doing. I'm running against Pelosi, and these fires are 100% the responsibility of the Democrats. Voters has to hold them accountable. Pelosi should be fired. Gavin Newsom should be fired because of the fires that turn us into a third world country that can't keep the lights on. We got restaurants crying and complaining and devastated. I don't mean crying in the bad sense, but their hearts are broken because the food rotted in their freezers. They've got to shut down and buy a ton of food because Gavin Newsom can't keep the electricity on. Oh my God! I remember. I don't want to disparage other countries. I've been to countries where they couldn't keep the lights on. It's just. I mean, this is America. This is Marin County in America. Yeah, of course I support the president. Yeah, of course I do. I'm a fan of Donald Trump since the 80s. I mean, of course I am. And he's got the great instincts. I like him personally. He's got the best sense of humor. I was at a fundraiser for him with 500 people in Palo Alto. Of course I am. Yeah, it's very third world. Of course I support the president. I don't agree with him 100% of the time, but he's the kind of guy you can disagree with and have a conversation and see if you can move the needle with him, Yeah, look at this. Cheryl. Thanks, Cheryl, for putting that up. Cheryl's mom lives in Lake County. Just got the power back last night. So what did she do for those 5 days? What if you're on, a dialysis machine or something like that? And you take precautions and you get backup generators if your life depends on it. But geez Louise, we've come to rely on electricity. And again, Gavin Newsom's just got to be held responsible. I don't want to beat that horse to death, but one thing I do want to say, there was a moment yesterday when it was so appropriate in a weird way that the fires were threatening the Reagan Presidential Library. The symbolism is worth its weight in gold. I did give her a run for her money. And, I think this is a slow build. Keep in mind, by the way, Pelosi was terrifying to local Democrats. No one would ever consider challenging her. She's got 3 Democrats running against her in this election, which tells me that they're not afraid of her. They're so disgusted with her, they're willing to put themselves on the line as being opposed to her. It means that her support on the left in the Democratic Party is waning and opens us up wide for all kinds of possibilities. I've got the kind of candidate I think has begrudging respect from folks on the left. They know where I stand on issues that are important to the left, like protecting civil liberties and privacy, where Nancy Pelosi has been terrible. So anyway, going back to the Reagan Library thing, I thought it was really an appropriate symbol that the Democrats who are burning down California are putting up creating a circumstance where the last strong Republican to run California. I think that's a fair thing to say. They were threatening to burn down his library, and I also think it was appropriate that it didn't burn down. That gives me some hope. And on that note, that's true. And here's what's happened: the Dems, wrestled us out, Uncle Dredd, and drove the middle class, which was largely Republican, out of the state. So, you can blame the people in California, I suppose, but it was the people up at the top in Sacramento who managed to put us in a stronghold and a chokehold and force a lot of people out of the state, as they continue to do. Anyway, let's think about the Reagan Library standing strong today. And that's a good symbol for us to focus on as we go on through the rest of the day. I hope yours is amazing. And if you get the opportunity today, please tell your friends to follow us here at John Dennis SF, because we are running against Nancy Pelosi. Have a good day. Bye.